Hey, running friends. Welcome to the Wrinkled Runner podcast. I'm Sherry, the Wrinkled Runner. I'm over 50 and I love to run wherever I go, but Buffalo, New York is my home. If you are looking to start to run or you're an older runner, this podcast is especially for you, so subscribe now. I love to help people get running and keep running. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about adjusting your runs. If you are a new runner, or even if you've been running a while, you may be like me and like to follow the book, so to speak. Being in training is a lot of fun and has taught me a lot about running, but because I like to check all the boxes, I had a hard time not doing exactly what a running program told me to do. No matter where you are in your running, there may be times that you need to take an extra rest day, or not run as fast, or take a walk break. The trick is actually allowing ourselves to do that sometimes. Especially because if you've been doing this for any length of time, you probably like to talk about your running. But I promise anyone who doesn't run isn't going to care, and those of us who do run know exactly what you're going through. There is a half marathon that I love to do here in the Buffalo area in the fall called the Mighty Niagara Half Marathon. It starts in Lewiston, New York, along the Niagara River, and we get to run by Old Fort Niagara, along the shores of Lake Ontario, and then we end up in Porter on the Lake Park. It is a beautiful run. Bands line the course, the spectators are awesome, and the after party is one of the best I've ever been to. The race itself is amazing. The downside is we are training for it during the summer. Even here in Buffalo, the summers can be hot, believe it or not. Some mornings we have no choice but to adjust some of the mileage or paces, especially my husband who loses a lot of hydration, aka he sweats a lot. He needs to make sure he has his water and his bottle of Nuun, and even still we keep track of his heart rate and slow it down or walk if he's starting to crash. There have been times we have pushed it, and looking back we realize how absolutely dumb we were and could have been in a lot of trouble. We lived in Shanghai for a bit, and I remember a run where the temps were near 100 degrees Fahrenheit, and we just ran around with no water. We got to the point where everything almost felt like a dream. It was a very surreal feeling. I think we were probably very dehydrated, and we couldn't find any place that sold water, and we finally realized, A, we needed to stop and walk, and B, we needed to invest in some hydration belts. It can be hard for runners to accept that maybe a plan needs to be tweaked a bit on a certain day, or even the whole plan has to be fine-tuned. Each of us is different, and a one-size-fits-all plan that we find on the internet may not work quite the same for everyone. I know that's duh, but I'm also stubborn. I'm more stubborn now at 53 than I used to be, and I've always been pretty stubborn, according to my husband. But I want to prove to myself that I can do anything, especially as an athletic late bloomer. I didn't start running until I was almost 40 and didn't run my first marathon until 2018. So I'm still learning how to actually be someone who is physically fit. Adjusting isn't just a hot weather issue either. Cold weather, fatigue, starting to feel an injury coming on. There are many reasons why blindly following whatever plan we're using can be detrimental. If you think you may need to tweak something and it's hard for you to do that when you know what your paces or mileages you're supposed to be doing are, go ahead and leave your watch at home, or if you use your phone to track it, don't turn that app on. Just run by feel. Stop and walk when you feel like it. You can go whatever pace feels good to you and don't sweat it. If your body is telling you you need an extra rest day, then take that. If your program has you running 5 days a week and that's feeling like too much, just eliminate one of the days. Dave is someone who also likes to do what the plan says, even though I write his plan, so no one else cares about what he's doing, but he likes to check those boxes as well. What I like to do if either one of us needs to adjust is plan a range instead of an absolute. So if we're supposed to run 5 miles and it's a day after a longer run and we had to chase grandchildren, or we happen to have to do a long walk that day because we went to the mall or whatever, I might say, okay, we're going to do a range today. We're going to do between 3 and 5. Whichever it ends up being is fine. Some days 3 and done is good, and other days we can do the 5 fine. But whatever the outcome of that run, it was successful because we had that range. Instead of absolutely we had to do 5 that day. If you aren't feeling great on a run day, postpone it until the following day and take an extra rest. There have been times when I have had to postpone a longer run to a different day, and then the next day was another scheduled run. So I've cut the mileage down on the second run, just called it a recovery run, and then called it a day. If you're a new runner and you are interested in racing at all, the plan you use may need tweaking at the end of the training as well. One thing I found as I get older, some of the plans have a more aggressive lead up to the race instead of a traditional taper. If you find that to be true, don't be afraid to cut out mileage or drills. As you get to know your running body, you'll be able to tell if a plan is too aggressive and if you need to rest your body more before a race to be fresh. When it comes to adjusting our runs, sometimes we have to look to what we actually want to accomplish. Do we want to be able to say we ran each and every run our training says to do, or do we want to strive to meet our real goal, which we can't do if we're plagued with overtraining injuries or being exhausted? Even if you never race, if your goal is to run, it is better to keep the joy in it than to exhaust yourself and make it a chore. If I can help you adjust your training at all, go ahead and send me an email at sherry@wrinkledrunner.com, and I'll try and help you out. I can't believe it, but next Monday is the last podcast for Season 1. We will be talking about cross-training and what we can do as runners to enhance our running by incorporating other fitness activities into our rotation. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you know another runner who could benefit from today's topic, go ahead and share it. Do you have any running questions? You can ask me. Email me at sherry@wrinkledrunner.com, and if I can't answer your question, I will do the research to find the answer and share it with you. The questions I get from listeners like you help me develop episodes, so please don't be shy. You can sign up for my once-a-month newsletter using the link provided so that you can have all the Wrinkled Runner resources from the past month all in one place. I also have opened up my virtual coaching in addition to coaching one-on-one with those in the Buffalo, New York area. So head to my coaching page on the Wrinkled Runner website, which I will, of course, link to, and check out how we may be able to work together. Until next Monday, thanks for listening, and I'll see you on the run.